So guys, welcome to Flipcarbon TV. Flipcarbon TV is a concept that I created for my company called Flipcarbon. This is a company that I co-founded about 5.5 years back. And Flipcarbon TV went online last week with an interview with the CHRO of Chikitsa Healthcare, Mr. Manish Kumar. And this is the second chat show in that series with all of you. So I thought I'm taking enough and more of adult perspective. Let me go and take a little bit of the teenager's perspective on life and what it holds for all of us. This session is called Trust versus Exploration. How trust plays an important role in your ability to explore this world and all that goes about in this world. So I'll ask you questions around that. But before we do that, let's do a round of introduction around the table. Starting from Shambhavi, you may want to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you are, etc.
My name is Shambhavi and I'm from Mumbai. I study in Bombay College School and I'm in the 12th standard right now. And I plan to pursue filmmaking.
Vaishnavi, you want to go next?
So my name is Vaishnavi and I'm 15 years old. I go to Bombay Scottish School and I'm in the 11th standard right now.
Okay. Aryan?
I am Aryan Pratap. My age is 12 years. I live in Noida.
Lovely. And right now you are logging in from Chandigarh or Mohali, I think. Correct, Aryan?
Yes.
Okay. Arya?
Yeah, hello, my name's Arya. I'm 13 now. I'm going to class 8 and I study in Frank Anthony Public
One of the things you guys can do is look at the camera while you are speaking. Camera would be in front of you and then speak. So that was Arya. Apurva?
Guys, I'm Apurva. I'm 13 years old and I'm in the 9th grade. And I study in PSBB LLA and I'm logging in from Bangalore.
Lovely. Atreya, my co-host, you would want to introduce yourself? You are on mute.
Hi guys, my name is Atreya. As Sir said, I'm 19. I will be going to college next year and to pursue finance. That's what I'm interested in. And I think this is a great opportunity for all of us to connect, share our views on this interesting topic, and let's strike some interesting conversation up.
Lovely. My first question is to Shambhavi. Shambhavi, now that we are all locked down and sitting at home trying to figure out how do we explore the world under these circumstances, do you think there's a lesson there somewhere for the world?
So I know that people think that exploration and knowledge, first of all, is not confined to your four walls. There's a lot of scope even at home to gain knowledge if you're interested. So mediums such as these webinars, like just before this, I was doing a webinar on acting schools and stuff. So if you're really interested, you don't really need, of course, the purpose of, going out and, so that you can venture out and learn new things. That's obviously not there right now. But there are a lot of other mediums through which you can connect with other people, know their views and still gain knowledge. So even though we can't go out and, explore, there are a lot of other mediums we can still try and gain knowledge.
Okay. Arya, the next question is to you. The topic is trust and exploration. So what role do you think trust plays in your ability to explore this world?
I think trust plays a really important role. Like you'll
have to speak a little louder.
I think trust plays a really important role in exploration because if you get lost, you can trust that someone can find you.
Okay. Vaishnavi, a follow-up on that same question with you. How would you rate the influence of trust on your ability to explore and your ability to really look forward to the world?
I think trust actually plays a very important role in exploration because, like, if my parents and friends they trust me to do something, I believe in myself more. I have more confidence to go out in the world and explore something.
Okay. So Atreya, this next question is to you. Although I know you are my co-host, the questions are not supposed to be directed at you, but sometimes I cheat. Uh, so tell me one thing. You have already crossed that age, right? You are 19, going on 20. Uh, so from your perspective, what do we need to do to really build on trust and make sure that we have an ecosystem where trust can be freely offered to us by other people, and we don't really have to work consciously and hard on gaining trust, because that's kind of second nature to us. What is it that we need to do? Do you have a cheat sheet for the rest of the people here?
Well, it's actually quite simple. So, I mean, we just complicate it with, overthinking it. But simply put, be yourself, do what you do. And if there are any expectations that your parents or your friends have from you, see if you can fulfill them and be true to yourself. So don't do something that you didn't expect somebody else to do for you. And probably that's how you build a trusting relationship with your friends and your family for the long term. So just be yourself, and I think the trust will come through.
Apurva, you want to add something to that? How do we?
All the points that just being yourself helps most of the time, and interacting with people and getting to know them also builds up a good amount of trust. Especially when you're making friends, you need to learn how to talk to them and get to know them, and also explain about yourself, and trust them with all the information you give them about your life. And that, I think, giving them your trust also helps them have trust towards you.
Okay. And what role do you think the generation gap, and this question is a follow-up to Apurva only, role do you think the generation gap plays in our ability or inability to gain trust from our elders?
In my opinion, generation gap isn't really a thing in my life, because I have learned how to actually cooperate with all the rest of the generations. But if there's actually a generation gap in that is part of your life, then gaining the people's trust is actually respecting them. Since we are Generation Z, and since we are the last generation right now, so youngest generation, so we should respect our elders and give them our trust, and that will help them trust us too.
Shambhavi, then the question, the next one, the follow-up was to you. Eventually, you guys are going to inherit this world, right?
Yeah.
What kind of an inheritance do you think we are leaving for you?
So the kind of planet I would like to inherit is like an empathetic world where we understand each other's views, we respect them, in a cooperative society that we understand each other. We sort of come to terms with what the other person is saying without striking out their views completely, understand where they're coming from, because ultimately we're all part of this world and we have to cooperate and understand each other, try to understand where the other person is coming from, because we all have different backgrounds, and it's important that we learn to respect each other. Yeah.
Okay. Aryan, next question is to you. You are right now staying with your Nanaji and Nanima, if I'm not wrong, correct? Aryan?
Yes.
Yeah. And we were talking about the generation gap. You think there is a generation gap with your grandparents? Or is the generation gap more with your parents?
Parents are very friendly.
Okay. So how do you spend the day with your grandparents? Do you feel that there is a difference in age?
Go out for the walk.
So you go out for a walk with them? Okay. Are you also helping in the kitchen?
Yes.
Okay. But what do they expect you to do there?
Cooking.
Okay,
Help mom.
what have you learned cooking right now? Anything new you learned? Anything you tried last week?
Making Maggie and boiling eggs.
Lovely. I've still not figured out how do you know from outside whether the egg is properly cooked or not. You know, it's very difficult. So, uh, uh, thank you. Thanks for that. Vaishnavi, my next question is to you. Uh,
10.
Sorry? Aryan, you were saying something.
I count 10 minutes.
Oh, you count. Oh, that's a great hack. That's a lovely hack for sorting this issue out. Brilliant. Vaishnavi, my next question is to you. What has been your method of exploration in this period of lockdown?
I think exploration is actually happening more in this lockdown because there are so many other ways you can gain knowledge. So, like learning something new in the kitchen or doing an online course, which I did a few days back. So, I think I'm able to explore a lot more now because otherwise I'm just like busy with busy with school and studying. So now actually my exploration has increased. I'm reading more, I'm learning new things in the kitchen, and I'm doing online courses. So I think exploration is a lot more now.
I would like to open this question to the rest also. So, Shambhavi, what has been your most successful method?
So right now, what she said. So right now, universities and like they launch these online workshops. So in fields, in every field, any field you're interested in, you can enroll yourself in these courses, these webinars. You can make like I like movies, so there was this workshop where you had to make a whole movie sitting in one room with like minimal characters. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, and if you go looking for them, there are a lot of things out there which you can try. So yeah, webinars, online workshops, lectures, there are a lot of things. And of course then there are baking workshops, a lot of things on the internet. And the fact that we live in this technologically advanced world, I think we should take full advantage of that fact and explore right now, even if it's on the internet.
Any hacks for me how to edit this particular session?
You can separately take videos of all of these. Like right now it's on a grid as long as what I can see. So maybe you can edit, and I mean I can edit it and send it to you because I don't know how to exactly. You will have to download a software and all of that.
Okay. So you want me to send a raw footage to you?
Yeah, and I can edit it and send it to you.
Lovely. I'll do that. Thank you.
I have a follow-up question here, and I'll put this out to the rest of you.
I need to speak a little louder because I think in the final edit, Shambhavi will tell you your voice will not come out very nicely if you don't speak louder.
Right. So, follow-up question. Better, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So this is for all of y'all, and me, anyone can answer this. So, is there any aspect of this lockdown that you would actually rather take out after? So, once the lockdown is lifted and everything goes back to normal, is there any one aspect that you would like to bring towards that part of your life, also integrated into that part of your life?
Yeah, so like right now we have a lot of free time, right? So maybe devote that much, or maybe not obviously entirely that time, but a part of that time to yourself, like to do what you enjoy doing. Because otherwise we're just stuck in this rat race, studying, completing assignments, all of that. So maybe if you can take a little part of that time and devote it to yourself, do what you enjoy doing. It could be listening to music, watching movies, reading books, whatever you like doing. Because that's what we're all doing right now. Because we don't have to go to school, we don't have to that way. So maybe use that time for yourself.
I think this is probably how our generation could actually be a little bit different in how we run our lives. A specific portion just for self-learning, self-building, exploration.
So Apurva, what has been your lockdown hack? How have you survived the lockdown?
So to me, exploration starts when I start doing things that I love the most. So surprisingly, the thing I love to do the most is read. And I've managed to read and reread many books through the lockdown. And to me, reading these books has actually brought forward different aspects of the world. Some books that relate to mythology, while some relate to things that people see from their eyes, and how their life has gone through, and things that they have experienced which I have not. And of course, the thing I love to do the most is write. And I started a blog when the lockdown began. And I think that's the part of the lockdown I would like to continue and keep with me throughout my life, so that my blog doesn't feel empty ever.
So maybe you would want to separately share the link of the blog with me so I can share with this group. And that's one way of connecting. Yeah, so one of the things you would notice in this particular, if you look at the grid in front of you, you will realize that some of you know each other, some of you don't know each other. So it's a great opportunity to make new friends. And in fact, I did this in the forenoon session as well as the afternoon session. I have deliberately kept, as far as possible, friends separately, unless there was a time challenge, so that you can see new people, meet new people, and that's another aspect of exploration. So Arya, what have you been up to in terms of your lockdown story? Do you have a lockdown story to share with us?
I haven't been up to too much during lockdown. Huh? Oh, yeah. I haven't been up to too much in lockdown. I started cooking. That's pretty much it.
So you have become better than your dad in terms of cooking?
No.
Okay. Good. So cooking seems to be one of the aspects that most of us have kind of looked at as, let me call it therapy for want of a better word, because it makes you engage with yourself a lot more, and also just, well, at least in some instances, pick up a new skill. So how many of you have actually picked up cooking as a hobby in this lockdown? A raise of hand would help. So yeah, Aryan, I can see Arya. Okay. Shambhavi, yes. Vaishnavi, I can't see your hand, so I guess you are just waiting for to be served.
I'm not sure actually. No, actually yes.
Okay, that's good. Apurva, yeah, I can see Arya. Aryan seems to be absolutely in love with the kitchen. But Aryan, beyond Maggie and eggs, what else? Anything else that has given you a high in terms of cooking or helping somebody else cook? Aryan? Salad, okay. So all healthy stuff for you except the Maggie maybe. So the eggs and the salads are good. Maybe the Maggie you might want to ditch a little.
I made burger also with mummy.
That's not bad. So I tried my hands at a homemade burger a couple of days back. Turned out quite nicely. I do believe that the McDonald's Mac Veggie is not as good as my Mac Veggie. So it's healthier, lighter on the tummy, and I can give you the recipe offline. Apurva, any cooking on your part? You have been up to something?
Cooking, I generally cook a lot at all times whenever I'm free, because my grandparents love to cook, my parents love to cook, I love to cook, and it's also a way of interacting with each other in the kitchen. And to me, cooking mostly involves baking, but I also like making savory dishes while baking. Like I also made a few empanadas, and other aspects of cooking are also part of my life, and that is better than my dad's.
Okay. So I'm not going to try and pronounce whatever you pronounce, empanadas or whatever that was. So for me, my soul food is khichdi. I absolutely relish that. I know some of you might find it a little strange. किसी को खिचड़ी कैसे पसंद आ सकती है? But मुझे आती है. So my next question to all of you is, we're talking about trust, right? So are there some circumstances where you have experienced where, despite your best effort, you felt that you could not gain the amount of trust you wanted to gain, and somewhere you couldn't have given it anything more? Any lessons learned from any of these experiences? Have you had such an experience, Vaishnavi?
I can't remember any such experience right now, but I think it must have happened with one of my friends where they didn't trust me enough to tell me something. So I think the lesson that I can learn from it is to try and respect everyone and try to understand their opinion and not just be like very eager to give my own opinion out and not be ready to listen to anyone else's opinion.
That's an interesting perspective, and I want to actually go a little off script and ask you this next question. And this is a follow-up. Vaishnavi, we can continue. Just offering somebody your trust and listening. That's something that we don't very often do. And there's a reason for that. Science says that the number of words you can listen to and the number of words you are able to process, they're not same. So you have a process gap, which means that you can have a lot more words than you are hearing. And so you fill in your own words. And that's how you end up already processing information inside you while you are trying to listen to somebody else. Even now you'll be doing it, most of you. And that's one of the challenge of listening. How do you cope with it? How do you make sure that when we listen fully? We kind of offer our entire intent and our availability to that person and make sure that we are fully listening before we get ready to respond. How do we do that?
I think you need to be ready to listen to other people's opinions and not just be like, you need to be ready to listen to new ideas and new facts, I think. You can't just live in a world with your own opinions and your own ideas about something.
And Shambhavi, is that easy? Listening to others without forming opinions and ideas at the same time?
There's a difference between hearing and listening. So if you want to have a decent conversation up to the amount of satisfaction both of you all garner, I think it is important to first of all listen to what they're saying, trying to understand completely their background or where they're trying to come from. Because if you don't do that, you can't come up with a satisfactory response either. And if that's not happening, you can't have a proper conversation. So yeah, you have to devote all your time and attention to what the other person's saying, and only then can you respond effectively.
And what would you say, and Apurva, this question could be to you, what would you say would be the relationship between our ability and intent to listen well and our ability and to gain somebody's trust? Is there a relationship between listening well and gaining trust?
When you start listening well to people, you get to know more about them, which helps you understand their background, understand how they like to talk to people, and also understand the kind of people they trust. You can, it's not like you can change yourself completely, but according to every person, you can change the way you think in, and according to every person, you can also shape the way you speak to people and understand how people like to talk to you, in which way, and also by this way we can gain trust. And in my opinion, talking to people is also a form of exploration. So if you're a big fan of exploration, you might also want to actually listen to people say what they're saying, and that might also help in gaining people's trust.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. And Atreya, any insights from your successful transition from teenage to adulthood for the rest of the team here? How do you build this capacity to listen well and gain trust through your ability to listen well and respond appropriately? How do you build that over a period of time?
Right, so it's not an overnight process to consciously sit and actually actively listen, to consciously say that I'm going to actually listen to what people have to say and then process the information. You can't always instantaneously have an answer to everything. So it's important that you process what they're trying to say, where they're coming from, their perspectives, and then bring out your opinion. So if it's a healthy discussion that's taking place, even your person you're speaking to, they will also understand where you're coming from. And I think that's how constructive conversations actually build. So the main point here is that you should be actively listening and making an effort to listen to what they're trying to say.
Okay. Thank you. Arya, the next question is to you. Uh, do you believe that how you gain trust is less important than how we offer trust on our own by default to somebody we love? That is maybe the critical piece of building a trusting relationship. Do you believe that? Would you say that it's not so much about my willingness to gain somebody's trust, but it is about their willingness to offer trust to me?
Yes, let's say that.
Yeah. So what's your thought on that? Or do you think that there's a balance there somewhere?
I think there is a balance there, but
You'll have to be a little louder.
I say there's a balance there of the amount of trust you give and the amount of trust they will give you also. There should be a balance. The more trust you give them, the more trust they can give you.
Okay, so what you are saying is trust is like karma. The more trust you offer to the world, the more trust you are likely to gain from them. That's absolutely beautiful. Shambhavi, you want to follow up on that?
So I think, yes, that he's right. There is a balance. But for someone to earn your trust, you have to offer it in the first place. You can't just be like, oh, please trust me. You have to tell them something about yourself, about your life. That will make them trust you. For in turn, for them to like tell me something that, they might not be able to tell anyone else, because they also have a piece of my information. So the only way they can trust me is by them telling me something, and it has to be a reciprocal action. It has to work both ways.
Okay, and uh, I know some of you are going to get into standard careers, but at least there are a couple of people on the screen, and let me also understand from all of you. Arya, what is it that you want to become eventually? What is the career you are picking up for yourself?
I'm not very sure right now.
You are still exploring. That's good, and there is no hurry. Trust me. Vaishnavi, how about you?
I was thinking about doing something in the field of business because that topic really interests me a lot.
Okay, Apurva.
So I've always had a dream to become a writer, and that's because when you can't make your voice reach people, the words that you write on a page can easily reach millions of people. Um, I guess that's why I actually started writing a blog, because um, but at some point in time in life, I would have thought that it is impossible for people from USA to read what I'm writing, or from Canada, or for anyone else to know what I actually want to say. So I guess that's why I want to become a writer, and also because it's a way in which the world can change because of your thoughts. It's not a very pushy way, but it's also it's also not a way in which you back down. It's kind of balance, and that's why I like writing a lot, and maybe that's why I want to become a writer.
So again, yeah. Once you are done feeling sleepy,
I will become scientist.
what is it that you want to become, Aryan?
I will become scientist and I will control weather.
Okay, so you want to become a scientist who can predict and manage weather better. Okay, lovely. So, and Atraya, I know is trying
Yes.
hands at predicting the markets better and understanding stocks better. So, very interesting choices of careers here. And as you can see, most of this is offbeat, except maybe to some extent Aryan, who would still want to get on in the science stream. Most of you have taken very difficult, so as to say difficult choices. No, it's not very easy to convince parents that, look, I want to become a filmmaker. No, filmmaker isn't something that comes to the mind first when you think of a career. So Shambhavi, how did you go about convincing people, or was it easy? They said, yeah, okay, go ahead, make films.
No, so with my parents, it was fairly easy because they know I'm inclined towards the creative field. I love writing as a Purva. Even I have a blog. It's a blog about movies because that's how I've always been inclined towards them. I'm the person in the family who just drags everyone to the theaters every time a new movie comes out. So they know I'm inclined towards it. Even in school, I've directed plays and written scripts for dramatics and things like that. So they knew, they probably had an idea. And when I put it forward, it wasn't that much of a surprise to them. So with me, I had no such problem per se.
So the next question is a little personal one. Do your friends call you Sam?
No, they don't.
They
I
don't.
have a
Can
nickname.
they call you Sam because your name doesn't sit very easy on my tongue? So it's okay
Yeah,
to
you
call you
can.
Sam for the rest of the. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
call you Sam. But without the H, of course. That would sound nicer. So that's interesting. So the field of business, Vaishnavi, and again, you will have to really trust you as parents to be able to say that, yeah, go ahead, start something of your own. Half of the startup scale, but that's perfectly okay. That's not some natural conversation that you have at home, right?
Yeah.
How about you? I know, I mean, you come from a family where parents are a little easier, but
Yeah.
not that easy that they can let you do whatever you want. So what's your thought? How did you go about having this conversation at home?
I think my parents do trust me enough, and they will help me along the way. But I really haven't had this conversation with them before.
Okay, so maybe just after the call, that's the first conversation we should have.
Yeah.
This video is definitely going online. And now I have a better editor in place, so definitely. So maybe you won't want to surprise them with this video. Have a
Yeah,
conversation.
I'll tell them after this.
So Apurva, how long have you been thinking about becoming a writer?
So I started writing at a very young age, about 5th grade or 6th grade. I actually started feeling like expressing my words on a piece of paper. I guess that came from my father, and that's because I think I saw him writing, and when I actually read what he wrote, I didn't really understand it at that point of time, but I knew that his words were reaching many people, and that's why I want to become a writer. Since I already said before, I want my voice to reach people. If it can't reach by me just speaking, then it might as well just reach people by the words that flow up from my ink pen.
Yeah, but unlike me, I write part-time, right? It's not my profession really. You have decided to go full-time into writing, and that's not something that parents think of, right? When it comes to profession for the children. So you think it has been easy trying to prevent people from changing your mind? No, every year somebody coming and talking to you saying, "ये भी try कर लो, ऐसा हुआ है क्या?" What do you
So
say?
I listen to everyone's opinions, just trying to weigh everything out. Generally, writing weighs everything down, and I haven't changed my mind yet. Also, through writing, if I ever wanted to choose, let's say, astrophysics as a profession, I might also be able to just write a book on astrophysics, maybe, and maybe I could also choose a different career later on. Maybe just change my mind. And if I actually change my mind, it might be difficult for people to actually manipulate my mind right now, because I've had the dream of writing for a very, very long time. So no one has actually been able to pull me away from that path yet.
Have people tried, or they have let you be?
People don't really try. They feel that writing might not be the best profession to actually opt for. But to me, writing, as I already mentioned about a million times before this, is very important, and it's a way of voicing my words through the world. So even though it might not be the best profession to choose, it will still help me know the world better, get to know people more, and yeah, I guess that's why writing is the best profession for me.
So Atreya, my next question is to you, because you are a co-host who is not asking follow-up questions too much. So let me bring you back onto the mic. how difficult was it for you to kind of convince people that to get into investment banking or help get into that choice of field into understanding businesses, understanding stocks, and predicting their movement? You don't really need to become an accountant to do that. Because immediately as soon as you say commerce, people want you to finish BCom, take up charter accountancy. Those are safe, correct? So you didn't do any of that, and I don't think you are planning to do any of that. How difficult or easy has it been for you? Because you are very close, right? Others can still change their mind. You have no choice left now.
Right. So, of course, I mean, I came from a science background. I did science in my class 12. So this was a complete shift in probably my outlook. And I was at the end of class 12. So that's where everybody starts picking up, really get serious about their careers. But that's where I decided to take a step back, explore the different options, see if I liked it. And oh boy, I fell in love with it. So right. So I mean, even when I did choose a field like this, there are a lot of people's opinions on how you should go about even a field of like commerce. But I knew what I liked, and you can obviously put your point forward to people, explain to them why you feel this is better for you than what they're suggesting. But if they don't accept it, that's fine. It's your life, so you got to do what you have to do. And but then what's also important is you take on their feedback on board and explore what they're saying. So if someone says that you should be doing, for example, a CA or an investment banking job, you should probably explore what an investment banker does, what a CA does, and how is it different from what I want to do. Probably see weigh the pros and cons and see, because everybody, whoever's trying to give you an opinion, most of them want what's better for you. So there's no harm in taking their feedback on board.
Okay. So it's like सुनो सबकी करो अपने मन की वाले हिसाब से करो क्या? So you also did something very unusual. After plus two, you did an internship, right? You want to talk about that?
Right. So that was another big swing from the normal path that everybody goes through. So I took a break here. I did a couple of internships after my class 12. And that was, I think, probably the best decision I've taken till now, because that allowed me to explore. And I think that's the theme that we are trying to talk about today, exploration. And not trust was exploration. So it took a lot of trust on my parents' part to allow me to explore, right? Because it's obviously odd for them also, because they've seen their entire generation and when they also had kids, their friends, everybody ends up going to a college after class 12. At least maybe abroad, maybe in the West, it's okay to take a break here, but in India, it's almost unheard of. And I'm grateful I got the opportunity to work with Pramasha and another company, another investment banking company. So that was great. So this is what allowed me to really, spread my wings, explore what I wanted to do. And that's the reason I can so convincingly say right now, I can build my case to say that, no, I want to study stocks. I want to study the stock market. This is what I want to do. And I don't think anybody can change my mind now.
Okay. So I forgot one of the ground rules. So let me tell you that at this point.
What is investment banking?
Sorry, Aaron, you were saying something?
What is investment banking?
That's a good one. Anyone else wants to pick up? Anyone else knows this answer? Or shall the question go to Atreya only?
I'd like to hear somebody else's opinion on this.
Anyone else who knows what is investment banking? Sam, you want to try give it a shot?
No, I actually have not ventured out to explore any other career options besides that of the creative field.
Vaishnavi is the business inclined one, right? Vaishnavi, you have an answer?
I'm actually not sure what it. I can't give a proper answer to it.
You have some thoughts? You have an idea?
Mostly related to the stock market.
Okay.
And where people can invest their funds.
Yeah, so you actually did a pretty decent job, because without knowing anything about it, if you are able to at least say that, it's actually great. Atreya, you want to enlighten people what is investment banking?
So investment banking is actually a huge umbrella under which various sectors of investment banking come in. So just to take one part of it as an example would be the field we deal with the stock market, right? So a lot of companies, hedge funds, institutions, high net worth individuals, people who have a lot of money to invest, they come to investment banks for their advice on how to invest their money. So, for example, like an HR person, like an HR consultancy helps people understand how to manage their human personnel. An investment bank helps you understand how to manage your money better, how to grow that money, and how to help your company financially improve.
Aryan, that is your answer. Anything more you know, you'll have to separately call up Atreya Bhaiya and ask him. We'll set you up. Okay. So Arya, having listened to all the people around here, has any thought crossed your mind? What next for you in terms of careers?
Not really, no.
You're going to
These
take,
all
but I do
all
know,
these careers are great, but like I don't think those are for me.
I do know that you are a avid gamer.
Yeah.
So have you thought about a career in game design or game quality assessment? Because those are some really unique careers which are coming in. You know?
Yeah, kind of. I've thought of going into game designs. I've actually thought of becoming a YouTuber also.
Yeah, a YouTuber. So when I was growing up, you were not even allowed to touch computers. You could only see computers from a distance. You know, even in school, the professors will touch it, the teachers will touch it, and will see it. It was only in the later half of my school life I saw my first computer in, I think, 7th standard. So from that day to today, you can actually do a lot more with computers. So why a YouTuber? What do you think is a YouTuber as a career?
I think the YouTuber is a really good career because you can express what you think about things, and everyone else can talk to you. Like through comment section, they can all speak to you, say their perspective, and yeah.
And how does a YouTuber make money? Any idea?
Has it's views, likes, etc. I think every 200 views on a video, you get $1. If I'm not wrong.
Okay, so maybe that's something that you learn to explore a little in terms of, and of course, we also have a filmmaker here. So you also like to understand what about the video really gives people enough cake for it to go viral, you know? Because first thing you'll have to do is make sure that you go viral for you to be able to make any money out of this career. But there are people who are doing very, very well. And,
so first of all, you have to have unique content. You can't have things like that are run of the mill. You can't keep showing them the same thing that they've already seen multiple times. So the first thing is content. They say content is king. I completely agree with that. Secondly, again, you have to have something that they've never seen before in terms of video quality or editing, or the way direct your scenes, or the way you attach your frames. All of those things, they're tiny things, but again, they play an important role. Even if you see filmmakers today or popular YouTubers, there's something unique with all of them. Like if you see these YouTubers, they come up with new challenges, and then it's viral. Everyone's doing it. So you have to come up with new things which no one's seen before. It could be in terms of editing, the way you portray yourself on camera, little things, but they all make a difference.
Okay. So now, so there's filmmaking, and then there's filmmaking has storytelling as an element. It has editing as an element. It also has. So ultimately, filmmaking is all about creating
a story.
Right? Creating a set of hooks for people to continue. Now, life is very, very similar. You know, life is a set of hooks. Right? I like to call it the hero's journey or the heroine's journey, where minus the setbacks, there is no story, right? So setbacks are important. So my next question to Vaishnavi is, Vaishnavi, how do we look at setbacks as an opportunity to become better? For example, right now, because of COVID-19, we are all stuck at home. The school session is likely to be curtailed in terms of number of months, number of lessons that we are able to cope with. the business session is likely to be convinced, and because you talked about business as one of your potential future careers. A lot of businesses are completely locked down. For example, if you are in travel and tourism, there's not much happening there.
Yeah.
If you are in experiential marketing, event management, there's not much happening there.
The industrial sector.
Yeah. So some of the industries really badly impacted. For example, hotels, hospitality, travel, tourism, events. All the events are slowly transitioning to digital. So these are big setbacks, And the first thing you do when you encounter setback, you have a fight or flight response. No, is there a third response beyond fighting or running away? Uh, is there a response which could say enjoy it and move on? Because this is what makes a hero out of you or a heroine out of you.
Yeah, I think you need to learn from your setbacks because that is life. There will be many challenges along the way, but you have to learn from it and move forward. You can't just keep thinking about the bad things that happen to you and be completely like obsessed with it. You have to move on. If there's like a particular thing, a competition that you took part in, for example, and you didn't win it, or or your attempt at it wasn't so good, so you need to try again and try to be successful at it.
Okay. Yeah, so
follow-up question to that. I'll probably ask Kapurva. So when you do encounter a setback in your life with your friends or anything from that matter, what do you think is the best way to probably overcome that setback?
So setbacks are actually a learning point in life. This also connects to exploration, to be frank, because when you have setbacks, you actually tend to see that as the end of whatever you're doing. But instead of seeing it as the end, you can see it as a new beginning. So when you have setbacks, you can explore and figure out what's the best thing to actually overcome that setback. And it's actually very similar to fighting maybe a combat in like taekwondo or karate. So you first see the kick coming to your face, the foot hits you, and then later you learn how to block that. So maybe you can also learn how to block out these setbacks, but you can also learn to let the setbacks come in as the flow of the river keeps moving. So you have to let it keep flowing, and you cannot exactly stop your boat midway, because if you stop your boat midway, the water force will actually destroy it even faster. So you have to keep moving on and learn from your setbacks.
So you're saying that if we want to progress in life, like from in a river from one end to the other, we have to be ready to face the setbacks that come our way.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
In fact, that I really enjoyed listening to that perspective, because I have always felt that without a waterfall, a stone doesn't break, and without a stone breaking, you don't really make sand, right? So, and without sand, there is no construction. So I think every what you call a setback for one particular person. For example, the setback for the stone might be the river falling with such force on it. Is actually an opportunity to become something better, something more useful, something that can cope a lot more, maybe even help the rebuilding effort. So I look at it like that. That if you encounter a setback, and I actually love that. I've never heard that analogy before, but yes, the only way to fight a river in spade is actually to flow with the river, right? You can't really flow against it. So flow with the river, let it take you through the path which it want to take you through, and then make that path your own. So that's actually a great insight. Thank you for that. So Sam, coming back to you. So do you think that adults take themselves too seriously? Maybe one of the way of living life is to go easy and don't assume that you have to necessarily pick up a fight with everything that you encounter.
So I do think that's one flaw of this generation, but that we're so obsessed with what's happening around us. But I also think that's valid to some extent, because there's so much competition around us that you have to be serious in what you're doing. But then to a point where you can't think of anything else, where you don't enjoy what you do, which is technically the most important thing. I don't think you should reach that point where you're completely absorbed in it and you're so serious about it that you've forgotten to enjoy it. You've forgotten that it was once upon a time your passion. So I think that is true. Like, it occurs very often.
Vaishnavi, you want to add something to that? You think you have a message for others here?
No, I agree with her. You need to you can't be completely engrossed in that particular thing and not remember to enjoy it.
And how so, and this is where this entire question of, although Apurva said that, look, there is no such thing, but this entire question of two generations having different choices to make, sometimes you are part of a generation where you can afford to enjoy a lot more than another generation. But would you agree with that statement, or would you say that, look, it's just that you decided to take yourself too seriously, otherwise you could have enjoyed yours as well? Which one is more valid? Maybe coming back to Atreya on that. Is it that maybe our generation decided to think of itself as a serious generation rather than it being a captive of circumstances?
I think it's about making the best of the opportunities that you get as a generation, or the opportunity that you inherit. So probably the India that our parents had, or the India that our parents were born into, did not offer the same opportunities that we are offered right now. The technological boom hadn't taken place. Multinational companies had not come to India then. So the expectation of eating out, going out for movies, that was something that wasn't prevalent in that time. But now it is. And it's probably, and they had their own ways of having fun, while we have our different ways of having fun. So it's all about making the best of the opportunities that we inherit. And I think that's what makes life interesting, because everybody has a different perspective on how they grew up, and the different road to where they've come now.
But is that necessarily true? Because now that I'm talking to a lot of YouTubers and filmmakers and writers, we had, all generations, even pre-independence, we had Satyajit Ray, no opportunities and still a Nobel laureate. Rabindranath Tagore, or post-independence, we had Satyajit Ray. So we had a writer pre-independence, went on to win a Nobel Prize. We had Satyajit Ray as a filmmaker with a lot limited resources, and he was an avid photographer also, and photography then was very, very different from photography now, right? But even today's photographers are struggling to meet the standards that he created at that point in time. So is it generally about generations and their opportunities, or is it about people and the amount of fight they have inside themselves? Which one is it the environment which will impact us a lot more, or is it our capacity for fight? Which one do you think is more relevant? Who wants to pick up that question?
So I think it's a combination of both those things. I think upbringing also plays a very important role. Like, say right now you're talking about Satyajit Ray. So at that time it'd probably be my grandfather. So maybe at that time Satyajit Ray's parents, maybe he grew up in the environment where he was encouraged to do photography or filmmaking, or he was exposed to more creative ideas. But suppose my grandfather, suppose he was always, like, suppose forced to see medicine or finance or business as a career opportunity, maybe he was not given that exposure to explore other creative fields at that time. So obviously there's a difference in their thought processes. And also, again, it takes courage to take up a career that is not very say regular. So I think it's a combination of both those things. It has to be the courage you have inside you, the upbringing you have, and the environment that you grew up in.
And given the circumstances, if they are unfavorable, Apurva, you may want to answer this question. If the circumstances happen to be unfavorable and you are not in an environment which is highly encouraging, and maybe challenges are there, what do you do in those, if that happens to you?
So to me, instead of the environment affecting me, I feel that we should be the ones affecting the environment around us. this again is like a setback, because if the environment is pressurizing you to actually, if people around you are pressurizing you to do something you don't want to do, you could either push back, or you could fall into that net of theirs and actually go with what they're telling you. So the way you see your environment is very important, because if you feel that people around you are very pushy about what you should do, then maybe you might just fall into that trap and change your mind about the career you were actually about to pick, and you might forget what you love to do, which can cause a lot of problems later on in life, because then when you actually find yourself again, because there are not many people around you are influencing you again, so when you find yourself, you regret the choice you made before. So we should actually plant ourselves like trees and stay there. Even if someone comes to cut us down, we should learn from that cutting down and understand how to avoid such things later on in life.
Okay. So good that you use the tree analogy, because when a tree is cut, it becomes timber, and timber is another word also for strength. So maybe when you are cut down, it's an important point in your life to kind of gain strength from that entire episode and become more resilient. Uh, if I go back home to Ranchi, some of the beds in my house are some 30 years old. So imagine the strength that wood would have carried within itself to remain strong and useful after 30, 35 years. So I think carrying forward from that conversation, I think it's important for all of us to also realize that the choices that we make are actually, irrespective of the fact that we attribute those choices to other people around us, it's actually our own choices, because either we climb down from our stand, or we are able to enable that stand by having a robust conversation with people which tells them how passionately we feel about something, and our ability to get people to understand our point of view and give them a perspective of where we see this headed. Because a lot of time when we are still children, not yet adults, one of the general perspective is that perhaps we don't know better, which is not necessarily true, because ultimately knowledge is all about exploration and our ability to have understood what we are talking about. So if we make the effort to research well, there are a lot of topics perhaps where children will know a lot more than adults. And the important point is to be able to enable and convince them that what we are saying is useful. And if you look at some of the adults around us, grandparents, for example, my parents, wrong side of 70, the ease with which they have taken up WhatsApp or a Facebook, or this lockdown, we have had a lot of WebEx and Zoom calls. The ease with which 70-year-olds have actually very quickly turned around and say, I know WebEx or I know Zoom, and I can have a concert on Zoom. And we've had family concerts on Zoom. So it's not that people will not understand you if you go to them with the right knowledge and the right perspective and a holistic approach in your mind. Sometimes maybe the approach is, like Apurva said, if you push hard against something, the reaction is a push back, right? So maybe sometimes you don't need to push, you need to flow around it and give it a gentle nudge. And maybe that works. Would you agree with that? What's your thought? Vaishnavi, maybe you want to speak?
Yeah, I agree with it. I agree with what you said.
Sam?
Yeah, so you're right. Maybe pushing is not the only correct option. You can try maybe convincing them, showing them that what you're saying actually makes sense in some aspect. Trying to convince them in ways which would probably, like if you're telling them, maybe don't tell them, show them what you're trying to do. If you're interested in something, if you're telling them, oh, I want to be a writer, don't tell them that. Show them your writings, ask them their opinions, so you know how they feel about it. What you said, flowing around the concept, I think that works better.
So Aaron, you are on Facebook, I think. I think you are one of the youngest in the network that I know of somebody who is actively separately on Facebook. Was it easy to convince parents? Sorry?
Yes, I am on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah. So was it easy for you to go online on Facebook at such an early age? Because I know you have been around for almost a year or maybe a little more than that.
Yes.
So was it easy? Did somebody encourage you to go online, or did you choose to go online and convince people?
I learned on my own.
Okay. Okay. So Aryan is on Facebook, and I love going through his Facebook posts. Some very interesting stuff there. Arya, I don't think is still yet a YouTuber, but maybe this lockdown is a good opportunity for you to kind of figure out the nuances and try your hand with one or two test posts and see how that goes. Thank you so much, people. It has been lovely talking to all of you. And I already realized I am 7 minutes over time because ideally I should have finished it at 3 o'clock. But thank you so much. It's great talking to you. Thank you, Sam, for volunteering to edit this for me. I will put it on a shared drive and send you the links. So there are 2 of these, by the way, not 1. Okay. So, and then let's see how this goes. Thank you so much, Atira. Thank you for being a co-host. Couple of follow-up questions, really good. Next one, I would want you to host while I play the co-host role. Thank you. I'm going off recording now, but we can continue having a chat if you want.